Ethan Carter was 27 years old, and every day felt like he was living a life that didn't belong to him. Trapped in a small, worn down apartment in Cleveland, Ohio, where cracked paint and a rattling heater reminded him constantly of how stuck he felt in life. He worked long hours at a warehouse that paid just enough to survive, but never enough to dream, waking up at 5 a.m., driving through gray winter streets, lifting boxes for 8 exhausting hours, and returning home each evening to fall into bed feeling like he was fading from the world. Haunted by his father's words, "Son, the world isn't built for people like us. We don't get to be great, just survive." Words that attached themselves to his heart like chains, convincing him he wasn't strong, wasn't special, and wasn't the kind of person success ever happened to, leaving him with an identity that felt like something handed to him, not chosen by him. But everything changed one freezing winter night when Ethan, driving home through a blinding storm, saw the impossible. A car flipped upside down in a ditch, steam rising from the hood like smoke, and a woman trapped inside screaming for help. Fear paralyzed him, his breath caught in his throat, and his mind screamed for him to run because he wasn't trained, he wasn't brave, he wasn't a hero. Yet beneath all that fear, a quieter voice whispered, "Try. You don't know what you're capable of yet." Pushing him forward as he grabbed the frozen door handle, his hands shaking so hard he could barely hold on, and pulled until his muscles screamed, until the metal door gave in and bent open, until he unbuckled the woman and pulled her to safety in the falling snow, holding her as she cried and asked through trembling breaths, "You saved my life. Who are you?" A question that hit harder than the storm itself because Ethan didn't know the answer. That night, unable to sleep, he sat on the edge of his bed, staring at his hands, the same hands that had saved someone, and for the first time wondered if the labels he'd lived under his whole life had been lies, whispering into the darkness. Maybe I'm not weak. Maybe I'm just untested. Words that felt like a spark in a pitch black room. The next morning, he tried something new, standing before a mirror and saying out loud, even though it felt ridiculous, "I am more than I think I am." And he said it again the next day and the next, until the words started feeling less like lies and more like possibilities. He joined a gym even though he feared being judged. He failed reps, his muscles burned, he shook with embarrassment. But he kept going because failure suddenly didn't feel like proof of weakness. Failure felt like training, and pride bloomed in the soreness of his body. Weeks became months. He read books about identity and purpose, wrote in a notebook words like confident, strong, brave, someone who matters, even when he didn't believe them. Walked instead of scrolling at night, upgraded his habits piece by piece like someone rebuilding a broken foundation. And little by little, his reflection began to change. Not his face, but the look in his eyes, which held light again, held belief again. One afternoon, he passed a fire station with a sign that read "Volunteers Needed, trained to serve your community." And though fear punched him in the chest and whispered he'd embarrass himself, the new voice inside him said maybe this is who you were meant to be. So he walked in, trained for months, struggled through drills, dropped equipment, finished last, failed, tried again, failed, tried again, discovering that identity isn't built by winning. It's built by refusing to quit. Exhaustion became fuel, and doubt became something to outrun. 6 months later, Ethan stood in front of a mirror, wearing a firefighter's uniform, tracing the badge with shaking fingers, remembering the broken version of himself who once believed he would never be great. And he whispered to the reflection, "I didn't find strength, I created it. I didn't discover my identity, I chose it." Realizing finally that identity is not found in who you are, it is found in who you're willing to become. And now this story turns to you. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not the names others have called you. You are the choices you make today, the habits you build tomorrow, the courage you show when fear tries to take over. Because your true identity is not what you are, it is what you are committed to becoming. And there is a stronger, braver, more successful version of you waiting on the other side of your excuses, waiting on the other side of discomfort, waiting on the other side of fear. So do not ask the world who you are. Tell the world, show the world, build a life that reflects who you choose to be. Because this is your life, your identity, your chance to meet the person you were born to become. Find your real strength, know your true identity, and live it. If you enjoyed watching, please like, subscribe, and share the video.